Hello, guys. My name is Spencer Turley, and I'm from outer space.
What's up, my dudes? So, Reflex is obviously the best arcade motocross game of all time. If you even question that, then you just don't fully understand arcade motocross games. I mean, it's really just that simple. Like, there's nothing else to say to it. I mean, you just haven't really played this game enough if you have that opinion on it, because it's that much more better than any of the other arcade motocross games. I'm telling you, it's so much better when you actually understand Reflex, okay? And I feel like this is where a lot of you guys are getting this weird, different opinion, and you don't really think Reflex is the greatest. Like some of you guys that don't really think that Reflex is the GOAT as far as arcade motocross games go. Like, if you have that opinion, then you're just not fully understanding the game. That's really the only explanation for it, dog. Like I'm telling you, I'm not trying to say you can't have your own opinion. By all means, listen, I'm a freedom of speech. Say whatever the fuck you want to say, you know, because I do that on a daily basis on YouTube. Like, trust me. Say whatever you want to say, have whatever kind of opinion you want to have, by all means. But I literally think that it's just one of those things that a lot of you guys, you're not fully understanding the full picture of Reflex if you have that opinion. Because listen, I am very deep into this motocross gaming thing, okay? I've done it way more than I will ever want to admit. All right? I'm not trying to say that in a cocky way. I'm just saying, when you've put, 10,000 hours into Reflex and 10,000 hours into MX Simulator, things start to become a lot more like understanding, okay? You start to realize like the whole scale and realm of arcade motocross gaming and just gaming in general, right? Whereas like, let's just say you've played Reflex for like 100 hours or 1,000 hours, and then you've went over here and played these other motocross games for a longer period of time or whatever, you might not have the same sort of scope and scale and understanding. And same way with if you've never really gotten deep into MX Simulator, you don't really fully understand that game either. It's the same way with Reflex, right? If you haven't really played Reflex enough, you don't really understand that game, because specifically with Reflex and MX Simulator, both of those games, they have such a skill gap, they have such a skill cap, right, that it's almost like I could see where if you just hopped into them for a small amount of time or just for a little while, how you wouldn't really understand it. Like, I can actually genuinely see how that would happen. Like, for instance, if I can ever make it down the mountain on a goddamn Black Diamond downhill right here, boys. Fucking, oh my God. Need one of those dirt bike fucking sleds, you know what I'm saying? Dirt bike snowmobile combinations. Like, I really do. Honestly, genuinely, I'm not just trying to be like, a dick by saying this, or trying to, be like a hardcore motocross gaming fanboy type, whatever you're getting in your head. That's not the reason why I'm saying this stuff. Man, I've played everything. Listen, I've played everything. Some of you guys have this impression that like all I ever play is MX Simulator and Reflex, so then I can somehow like not understand anything else. Let me tell you something. When you get to the full-blown pro level on MX Simulator and you're getting top fives and pro RF 450 main events on MX Simulator, you know what the hell's going on in motocross games, period. Because that game right there, it's like all these other arcade motocross games, except it's got 1,000 times the skill gap in bike movement and everything to it. So, in a lot of people don't understand. A lot of us guys that get into MX Simulator, the reason why we get into it is because we've already full-blown mastered one of these other arcade motocross games, right? A lot of you guys don't understand that shit. Like, that's why we get into MX Simulators, because it's the next level of motocross gaming once you max yourself out on one of these arcade motocross games. And, a lot of people have it in their head that, like, us people that play MX Simulator, it's like all we've ever played is MX Simulator. We don't understand this arcade motocross realm, right? It's really AKA just an excuse to, have a differing opinion than us, and like trying to make it sound like our opinion doesn't matter or our opinion doesn't mean anything, when in reality, we're the ones that have all the experience. Us people that's really played Reflex a shitload, really played MX Simulator a shitload, we're the ones that have the experience, okay? And if you don't have the experience, you don't understand. And my sort of thing with a lot of those other arcade motocross games, like some of the milestone games, some of like MX vs. ATV Supercross, MX vs. ATV Supercross Encore, some of those games, even into Alive, like a lot of those other arcade motocross games, they're so easy and simple whenever you compare them to the broad scale of all motocross games out there. They're so much easier and so much more simple skill gap wise that it doesn't take you very long to fully understand those games. So for instance, like, you may be more of a casual beginner motocross gaming fan, and if you go hop on Alive, that's probably going to feel better to you than if you went and hopped on Reflex or MX Simulator, because it's easier. You're going to be faster at the game quicker. It's going to feel better to you quicker. That's why a lot of people don't like MX Simulator, because they get on it, they play it for like a week or a month, and they still feel like a full-blown beginner in the game, and then they quit playing the game. They're like, oh, this shit sucks. Like, I'm never getting faster. I'm never going faster. The game is like, I can barely move. I can barely move around. And that's why it's like that, because the skill gap is so high. That's why it's like that. Same way with Reflex. Like, if you hop on Reflex, it takes you a little while to really learn this game and really start hitting the huge lines on the Supercross tracks. And like, it takes a long time before you understand all of the little intricacies and what makes it so fun. What makes it, see, if you never play a motocross game long enough to understand real skill gap in motocross games, then you don't understand why Reflex is so fun and amazing. You just don't get it, right? And I'm not saying you can't go play a motocross game for fun and just mess around and be casual, because by all means, you can definitely do that. But my sort of argument is Reflex is just a better game all the way around, no matter what skill level you're at, than any of the other arcade motocross games. It's better content-wise, it's way better track design-wise, and it's 1,000 times better physics filling on the bike-wise. 1,000 times better, literally. It just is. When you talk about the combination of ground and air physics, you cannot beat Reflex. And talking about revolutionary, just imagine them going from Untamed and how that game was and felt and everything about it, to Reflex, the first one to really do the dual stick controls and the best one to ever do the dual stick controls. This game literally changed the entire evolution and future of motocross gaming. It will always be stamped in the history books as that arcade motocross game that changed it forever. The dual stick controls is the most revolutionary, the most next level thing that we've ever seen in an arcade motocross game, ever. And it even translates over to MX Simulator. I mean, that's how I play MX Simulator, dual stick, right? So, talking about just the ultimate of revolutionary and doing something different. Let me get a fucking kick. Holy shit. And it's like, how could you not say that's the GOAT? How could you not? All that shit, that dual stick control stuff you're playing with in the milestone games, thank Reflex for that, because they're the ones that did it first, okay? Imagine if the milestone games only had one stick control. Well, they would have that had it not been for Reflex. You dumbasses, right? Like, just people just don't get it. They just don't get it. And I'm not saying you can't have a differing opinion, but it's funny because when you go look at really like a lot of people's opinions on Reflex, Alive, the milestone games, stuff like that, I guarantee you can draw a direct correlation between people that have less time into motocross games, they're more like beginner casual people in motocross games, to them liking like Alive and the milestone games way more than somebody that actually really hardcore plays motocross games and really gets into them, and really, like, it's more than just a side hobby. It's more than just a let's be casual and go have fun on a motocross game like for 30 minutes every week or something, like, it's more to them, right? They get more into it. I guarantee you can draw a direct correlation, like, to all those people that think those other motocross games are better. Well, I guarantee you they're they're more on the casual side of motocross gamers. Those people that think that, because I'm telling you, if they got more into motocross games and really understood motocross games to a full extent, they wouldn't think anything else is better than Reflex. You understand what I'm saying? But what I'm getting at is I bet you there's not a handful of people in the world that are like hardcore, serious motocross gamers that don't think that Reflex is the greatest arcade motocross game. I guarantee you. You may think you're hardcore, but you're not at all. You may think you're like serious about it on some of those milestone games or like, whatever, but you're not. You're not even in the ballpark. You're not even close to being a hardcore motocross gamer, right? See, once you get to the point where you're really, really good at Reflex, then it should go to MX Simulator. That's the next natural step, right? Then MX Simulator is like a whole nother world. Then when you get all the way to the point of getting to where you're pro racing top fives in main events on MX Simulator, right? Specifically in the 450 class in RF, because that's the real like tippity top of the competition on MX Simulator. When you get to that point where you can finish top fives and podiums and shit, RF 450 main events on MX Simulator, you're at the top of the slope, dog. You're at the top of the summit. You know what I'm saying? No pun intended. You're at the top of the understanding in the echelon, because every other game is just lesser than that. Every other motocross game is lesser than that as far as the skill gap, the movement, the complexity, the whip systems, the leaning, the seat bouncing. Every other motocross game is less complex than that. So if you get to that point, aka me, oh, and by the way, not to mention I've made about 100 custom tracks on MX Simulator, full-blown custom tracks. I understand that whole entire realm of track design, track making. I built in an actual full-blown track editor, not the little cheesy-ass milestone track editor that you get. I'm talking about a full-blown track editor where you're literally going in there and, raising terrain, smoothing terrain, forming terrain, building ruts, doing the whole nine. Right? Coming up with biome designs, making different track designs, putting objects down. I have all of that experience, dude. All of it. So I understand all of that on top of everything else. I understand track designs. I understand what makes it fun. I understand what makes it work. And I'm just telling you, if you knew what I know, and if you had the time into the motocross games that I have, I promise you, your opinion would be that A, MX Simulator is the greatest motocross game ever, period, known to mankind and will ever be. It can't possibly get any better. And B, Reflex is the greatest arcade motocross game ever, and it's not even close. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying about Reflex, is it's not even close. Like the other arcade motocross games, they're not even close enough. When you really fully start understanding this game, they're not even close enough to where it's even like, oh, okay, well, maybe you could think that. No, dude, you're off in your own head if you're thinking that one of these other arcade motocross games is better than Reflex. And it's really just that simple. I know it's going to sound like I'm trying to say you can't have your own opinion. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, some of you dudes out there that go in there and say, well, I think Alive's better, or I think the official Monster Energy Supercross game is better. Well, tell me this. Do you even have 1,000 hours into Reflex? Probably not. Do you even have 1,000 hours into MX Simulator? Probably not. Oh, okay. Now I understand why you have that opinion, right? It's like, oh, okay. Now it all starts to make sense. Yeah, dog. For sure. Some of you boys are caught up in graphics. That's some real shit. Some of you boys are caught up in graphics and riding as Eli Tomac in a game and having Monster Energy logos on the finish line and shit. Some of you guys are all caught up in that bullshit. And it's really eating away at you because you don't understand the real motocross games. You don't even get it. You're not even remotely understanding. Man. Because if you did understand, you'd realize there's every bit of that in the PC version of Reflex and MX Simulator with all the custom shit. There's every bit of that. You can have Monster Energy logos, ride as Eli Tomac with custom Eli Tomac gear, all the replica tracks, all the replica design stuff, full-blown pro racing series. All this stuff that Reflex and MX Simulator has None of the other motocross games really have it to that level. They just don't. They don't have any of that. You know? Well, they have some of it, right? But it's kind of like not really to the same caliber. You know, All Out, I guess, has a little bit of a pro scene and series and stuff, and I guess the official Monceu Supercross games have a little DMR series or whatever the hell it is, which is laughable because it's like, why the fuck are you guys trying to pro race on a game that's this simplistic? Why the fuck are you doing that? If you're pro racing on the official Monceu Supercross game, let me just break it to you, you're not pro at a motocross game. You're not. Sorry to say that, but you're just not. Some people, they don't understand that. But like when Reflex has, 100 times the skill gap of the official Monceu Supercross game, if you're a full-blown pro at Reflex, that actually somewhat means something, right? But still, it don't mean shit to MX Simulator, because MX Simulator has 1,000 times the skill gap of any other motocross game. So once you get to MX Simulator and then you're a pro at MX Simulator, that's the top of the fucking slope, dog. Then you can really say you're a pro at a motocross game. When you become a pro at MX Simulator and you're actually doing really well in main events, like specifically top 5 to like podium area in the 450 class, then you can start saying you're something at a motocross game. But until then, you really ain't shit, dog. You're playing around with kittens, right? Come have fun with the lions. Come have fun with the real. Like, you're playing around. You're goofing around. If you're playing around on them other arcade motocross games and thinking that you're pro, because you're not pro, bro. Like, okay, let me just give you a little example. So if you're pro at the official Monceu Supercross game, that's basically like, being pro at your local track in real life, right? Whereas MX Simulator, when you're pro at that game, that's like actually literally being pro in real life AMA Supercross or motocross. You see the comparison? Whereas like if you're pro at the official Monceu Supercross game, that's just like being pro at a local vibe track. It don't really mean shit. It literally means nothing. But like if you're pro at Reflex, that's kind of like you're like top of the amateur class in real life. That's kind of what Reflex is. But then when you go to MX Simulator, that's like legitimately the level of being pro in real life AMA, full-blown Supercross and motocross. That's kind of the scale and the how all that really is. You know how different it is being like the fastest dude at your local track and then being the fastest amateur in the world and then being the fastest dude in the full-blown pro AMA racing. They're completely different worlds, You can say you're pro in real life, but it's like, what are you pro at? A local race that's got 3 people in it? Oh, congratulations. Nobody gives a fuck. Then when you say you're a really top amateur, more people care, but still at the end of the day, you really ain't shit until you prove yourself in the full-blown pro racing, aka MX Simulator. That's the realm of skill gap in the pro race scene in all motocross games. That's really the hierarchy of it. It goes MX Simulator, 1,000 times more than any other motocross game. Then it goes down to Reflex, which is 100 times more than any other motocross game. Then it goes into all the other games like All Out, Alive. Then it goes down to official Monceu Supercross game, shit like that, So it's basically how all that works, but a lot of people just don't understand that. Then they get butthurt when somebody that actually has all of the experience and all the retarded amounts of time put into all this shit to understand it. I've got a really differing opinion than a lot of you casual dudes out there because of how different we've both played motocross games. You see, that's why my opinion seems so different, because you're over here stuck in your fairy tale fantasy land by putting maybe 1,000 hours into motocross games, period, in your entire lifetime, whereas I've got 10,000 hours just into individual singular motocross games, multiple, you see what I'm saying? 10,000s into multiple motocross games out there. If you don't believe me, I don't really care. It's the truth. And then people try to say I'm lying or I'm saying I'm not telling the truth. Okay, I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Like, you don't have to believe what I'm saying, just like anything. I don't care. I have no reason to lie about how much time I have in a motocross. There's no reason for me to lie about that. Like, I'm not saying it in a cocky way either. I'm just saying it in a, I understand what the hell is going on. Whereas some of you dudes that only have 500 to 1,000 hours into all motocross games combined, your understanding level is just not in the same caliber. It's not even in the same realm. So it's almost like there's no way you could understand why Reflex is the greatest arcade motocross game. There's no way you could understand why MX Simulator is the greatest motocross game, period, of all time. See what I'm saying? Like, you just couldn't understand it. So that's really, and you need to respect that. Some of you really need to sit down and think about that and respect it, because some of you aren't respecting that shit, and you need to. Because there's some other people that have a lot more expertise and understanding in these games than you do, okay? And you can have your own opinion, but I'm just saying you got to be careful, because some people, this is what they do all day, every day, a.k.a. me. This is what I do all day, every day. Motocross games, all day, every day. Been doing it for 10 years now. All day, every day. Reflex, MX Simulator, racing people, pro racing, building custom tracks, riding on custom tracks, making a YouTube channel, reviewing tracks. I probably reviewed over 300 tracks in my lifetime on these games. 300 full-blown reviews. Rode on all different kinds of bikes in the motocross. I mean, it's just, fuck. Like, dog, not trying to say I'm better than you. I'm trying to say I understand it more than you. That's what I'm trying to say right now. But either way, just saying, if you put the time I put in, you won't disagree with me. You won't. I'm just saying right now, I'm just telling you. So either way, Reflex is the GOAT because of the feeling on the bike. There's actually a seat bounce. In combination with the badass, awesome, just one-of-a-kind track designs to it, the awesome free ride tracks, the roughness, rut, skill gap of the motocross tracks, right, a.k.a. what doesn't exist at all in the milestone games. The supercross tracks actually have humongous quad jump skill gap and somewhat of whoop skill gap, a.k.a. what the milestone games don't have at all. Reflex has 3 full-blown individual biomed free ride maps, humongous free ride maps with all kinds of humongous jumps on them, anything you could imagine, a.k.a. the milestone games don't have any of that either, on top of everything else. Then we can go into the PC version of Reflex. Now you've got 10,000 custom tracks. You've got thousands and thousands of custom gear and bike graphics and everything you could possibly imagine being in the game, right? The milestone games have none of that. None of it, dog. How is it even a question? How is it even up for debate? It's not in my eyes. Some of you guys are just making it into a debate when it's really not a debate on what the greatest arcade motocross game is. Some of you guys are trying to make it into like a, oh yeah, this one might be the best, or that one might. No, it's not even close. It's not even a question. There is no question. We all really know deep down. Some of you just don't understand it. That's really all there is to it. All you serious motocross gamers out there, you know. I don't have to explain it to you, right? All you people that's gotten deep into MX Simulator, you know. I don't have to explain it to you. I just have to explain it to these full-blown casual chums out here that have no idea what the hell they're talking about. And some of you casual dudes out there do understand what I'm talking about. You're like, oh, okay. Maybe Spencer is right. Maybe I just haven't put enough time into those games. Maybe I just don't understand them to the full-blown level yet, and maybe that's why I don't really think they're the best right now. Some of you guys do understand. Even some of you casual dudes understand what I'm saying, but some of you just can't get it in your head. Some of you are just still so confused, and it's sad. You're missing out on some of the best motocross games of all time. The best motocross games of all time. To be specific, they are the best. Reflex and MX Simulator, it's the tippity top. You will never, you're not going to beat it, dude. Both of them's lasted more than a decade, okay? What other motocross games have done that? I'll be here all week. None of them. Cricket. Yeah, there's none of them. None of the other ones have lasted a decade plus. None of them. I mean, even when you go back to Unleashed and Untamed, those are legendary games, but have they really lasted a decade plus? Not really. Not really. Some people do still go back and play them here and there, but not like they go back and play Reflex and MX Simulator. Not even close. You see what I'm saying? And the milestone games can't even last more than a month or two. So they're completely out of the question, But either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Have a good day. Don't ever forget the legends of motocross games. Don't put that disrespect on my name. You know what I'm saying? Don't put that disrespect on these legendary motocross games like that. You don't know what you're talking about, boy.